Hi, my name is Matt Pisz, and today I'm going to discuss with you cybersecurity threats detection using an Ensemble architecture. A brief rundown of the agenda for today's discussion. I will be giving a brief high-level overview of the research paper, as well as a brief background of what Ensemble architecture is. We will go over the main contributions of the paper and what research questions these authors are attempting to cover. We will review the methods and experimental design for approaching these research questions, as well as review the results from the experiment. In the end, we will discuss the conclusion and take a look at potential experimental weaknesses and further opportunities for research. So this paper describes an ensemble design for cybersecurity threats detection. The ensemble design utilizes multiple classifiers together to make an assessment for cybersecurity intrusions and detections. The classification utilized in this research paper features aspects of the Dempster-Shaffer theory and the K-nearest neighbor or KNN technique to help supplement intrusion information from cyber attacks. The proposed ensemble intrusion detection architecture is hypothesized to yield more accurate threat detections while simultaneously reducing the amounts of false positives received. So what is ensemble architecture and how does it relate to cybersecurity? Well, today almost everybody is somehow or some way connected to the internet. From your smartphones to your smart TVs to personal computers, from the very heaviest of internet users to the very lightest of internet users, each person that is connected is susceptible to internet attacks. It's similar to the threat of the cold or the flu each time flu season comes around. The threat of cyber attacks against you is almost unavoidable. Intrusion detection systems are similar to a flu shot against these unwanted attacks. Traditionally, threat detection has been categorized into two groupings. There's anomaly detection and there's misuse detection. Anomaly detection searches for intrusive activities by comparing network traffic against your normal usage patterns. Said differently, this is very similar to how your credit card is monitored. If your normal spending activity is within your local area of where you live, and that same day somebody from Russia charges $5,000 to your credit card, your bank is going to flag that as an anomaly. So in relation to cybersecurity, your normal usage patterns of how you're using the internet and how your network traffic is coming in and out can be flagged if it's viewed as being abnormal. Misuse detection techniques take models and patterns from already defined and known cybersecurity attacks and use those patterns to analyze traffic incoming and outgoing from your internet usage. Identifying attacks is a classification attack. Traditional intrusion detection systems classify attacks into normal usage category or an attack category. There's one major drawback to the traditional intrusion detection systems is that one single classification method cannot possibly cover all aspects of the cyber attack. Ensemble architecture approach combines multiple classifiers together to increase performance and results when compared to using a single base model. So in this article, the researchers designed an ensemble intrusion detection model which utilizes a set of base feature classifiers and one data mining classifier. These base use classifiers act as an anomaly detection, and the data mining classifier acts as a misuse detection to reduce the amount of false positives found. By using this method, the article attempts to answer the questions of how does using an ensemble architecture model compare to a single detection model in respect to accuracy of detecting threats? And does using a data mining classifier actually help us reduce the amount of false positive detections? So the experimental design that the researchers used here, you can see, has network traffic coming in, and the method or the ensemble architecture is broken up into 3 distinct layers. Layer 1 has 2 different classifier ensembles that it's going through. Ensemble 1 at the top is using 9 basic features, 9 content features, and 19 traffic features to analyze incoming network traffic on the network. Your Ensemble 2 is using 3 distinct classifiers as well, where each one is using a very specific cybersecurity algorithm to classify potential intrusions from network traffic. Layer 2 combines these intrusion detection results from Ensemble 1 and Ensemble 2 into one unified result of detection rates for intrusions and false positives. So what it's doing is it's taking the network traffic's coming into layer 1 and it's going through these basic content and traffic filters and getting a defined result of, is this a cybersecurity threat? Is this a cybersecurity intrusion or not? It's also going through the bottom ensemble classifier 2, the cybersecurity algorithms, to come to a conclusion again of, is this a threat or is it not? Layer 2 is taking these 2 results from the ensemble classifier and combining them into one assessment. From there, that assessment is being filtered into layer 3, which is our data mining classification, and it's using data mining techniques to construct a filter to eliminate false positive alarms. The filter defines a rule set that is representative of normal traffic versus actual intrusions. So it's filtering our combined results, and it's looking at all of the data in there to determine, is this normal usage pattern or is this outside of our realm of normal usage pattern, and we can flag it as a cyber attack or a false positive. The research article uses a defined data set, which is called the DARPA KD99 data set. It's a predefined data set which includes 3 independent sets. There are a total of 39 different attack types which fall into 4 specific categories of attacks. There's a denial of service attack, there's probe attacks, root user attacks, and finally remote to local attacks. So denial of service attacks are attackers disrupt a host or network service in order to make legitimate users unable to have access to their machine. Probe attacks are where attackers use programs to automatically scan networks for gathering information or finding known vulnerabilities. User to root attacks are local users get access to root access of a system without authorization, and then they exploit the machine's vulnerabilities. Remote to local attacks are unauthorized attacks. These gain local access to the machine from a remote location and exploit the machine's vulnerabilities. So results of this methodology in this experiment is the detection rates for the 4 groups. For denial of service attacks, the detection of cyber intrusions was rated at 99.42%. The detection rate for probe attacks was 99.67%. The user to root detection rate was 98.88%. And the remote to local detection rate was 93.39%. So using the ensemble model for detecting cyber threats, we see a very high rate of detection for cybersecurity breaches or intrusions. When comparing these Ensemble results to a single classification set or a single model intrusion detection system. The basic single system has a detection rate of 74%, where Ensemble detection rate increases our accuracy to 97.58%. The false positive rate was a little bit surprising, where a single classification detection rate has 3.20 percentage of false positives, where Ensemble detection rates actually have a 9.34 percentage of false positives. This is where that misuse classification of the data mining actually comes in and helps this experimental results. The data mining is utilized to help analyze this 9.34% of false positives to actually determine if these are true cyber attacks or if they're false positives. In the end, overall classification rates of a single model yield us 79.73% accuracy, while our Ensemble detection yields 95.94% accuracy. So as you can see, the Ensemble detection technique utilizing multiple classification sets and multiple classification models and filtering out the false positives actually yields a much higher accuracy rate for detecting cyber intrusions. So in summary, the Ensemble classification yields much higher accuracy rates for detecting cyber attacks and intrusions. And utilizing the data mining classification, or the misuse classification in this case, helps us filter out our false positive results for intrusion detection. Interestingly enough, to explore this area, so there are some experimental weaknesses that I inherently thought of when I was reading through this article. One of them being the researchers used a predefined data set with predefined attacks. As stated previously, there were 39 different attacks that were defined across 4 different categories in this predefined data set. It would have been very interesting to see this work in a real-world scenario. And deploying this model across a network and utilizing this model in real time against real current threats would be interesting to see the results of how accurate the findings could be for detecting these intrusions. I think because we used the predefined data set, the results, while encouraging, could kind of be viewed as being more expected rather than, I guess, found is maybe the way I'm trying to say it. One other experimental weakness that I thought that crossed my mind was we're only using one Ensemble design. They designed one of these architectures with these 2 different Ensemble classifications that were filtered together. It would have been interesting to see how the results changed, being more accurate or less accurate, if there was a second design model utilized with different classification parameters. So instead of using 13 basic classifications, it would have been interesting to see if, had we used more or less, what sort of results that would have derived. I hypothesize that you could, by testing multiple Ensemble designs or Ensemble architectures, you could continue to tweak and you could continue to refine the results that you get to come up with maybe a better design or a more quote-unquote perfect scenario for perfect design model for intrusion detection. A similar study that uses this sort of method, there's a research article out there called Prioritizing Intrusion Analysis Using the Dempster-Schaffer Theory. So again, the same theory that is being utilized here in this research paper is being utilized in this other research paper that I found. The paper uses similar methods to address the fundamental issues of applying intrusion analysis. So how we are classifying, how we are analyzing intrusion threats. This paper takes this Dempster-Schaffer theory and further expands upon the fundamental issues of that. It proposes new algorithms to help classify cyber intrusions and to help further reduce false positives. So the algorithms that were predefined in our Ensemble, they're taking those algorithms and either expanding or tweaking upon them to help drive better results, to increase our rate of detection and decrease our rate of false positives. In the end, the paper concludes by analyzing correlating cyber intrusions, the accuracy of intrusion detection can be streamlined and increased. So basically, by modeling different algorithms and by addressing the fundamental issues in this analysis, we can increase the accuracy of intrusion detection and we can actually streamline the model to make it more effective. So I thank you for your time. I really appreciate you lending me your few minutes of your day, and I hope everyone else has a wonderful day.